Thank you for joining us, and welcome to today's show from Tel Aviv. Today I will talk to a young man who has an almost unbelievable survival story. Welcome to another episode of Fascination Israel. Hostage Square, Tel Aviv. Ever since the terror group Hamas brutally deported over 230 people to Gaza on October 7, 2023, the square in front of the Tel Aviv Art Museum has been given this name. The square is a memorial of remembrance. It breathes the desperation and pain of the hostage drama that has now lasted for over 7 months. The people of Israel are very conscious of the terrible fate of the affected families of the hostages. Almost daily events of all kinds are taking place here, which always demand one thing above all: the immediate release of 132 hostages still in the hands of Hamas. Today, for example, hundreds of bikers from all over the country gather here to show solidarity and to put out their call to the world for the release of the hostages. From here, they drive to the site of the Nova Music Festival in the south of Israel, where over 360 young people were mercilessly murdered and dozens were kidnapped. Relatives and family members of the abductees often come here to find comfort and courage. One person who witnessed the massacre of October 7th is Alon Gat. On this tragic morning, his home, Kibbutz Be'eri, was overrun by heavily armed Hamas terrorists. They left a bloodbath in their wake and kidnapped many of the residents, including Alon and his family. Here is his story.
You actually were living in Be'eri until 4 weeks before the 7th of October. Can you tell me why did you move to Be'eri?
Yes, so I was born and raised in Kibbutz Be'eri, which is 6 kilometers away from the border with Gaza. And this is where my father was born. This is where my grandfather established the kibbutz.
Your grandfather established the kibbutz?
Yes, on 6th of October, 1946.
Kibbutz Be'eri is part of Israel's founding history. Immediately after Yom Kippur holiday in the evening, hundreds of Jewish pioneers set off for the south of Israel to establish the well-known 11 places overnight. That was October 6, 1946. Alon's grandfather, Eliashu Gat, was one of the founding members of Kibbutz Be'eri. The name Be'eri refers to Burl Be'eri Katznelson, a well-known and popular figure of Zionism, who died just 2 years earlier. On October 6, 2023, the day before the Hamas attack, the 77th anniversary of the beautiful kibbutz was still celebrated in Be'eri.
So this is my home. This is what I know as a home. And I was away of the kibbutz for about 10 years, and I came back with Yarden, with my wife, on September 2019. And we lived there. We enjoyed the life of the kibbutz. Geffen was born in the kibbutz, my daughter. And on September 2023, last year, we decided that we are going to live out of the kibbutz because of the alarms and the missiles. And we felt that the tension is too high to raise a kid in this situation, this crazy situation, which got normalized, that you have missiles that once in a while have been shot at you.
Well, how was it for you all the years living there, your whole family, at least since 2006, to live with rockets?
So at the beginning, it's really scary, and then you're getting normalized to that. You're getting used to that, which is crazy. And then you have shelters, that you have safe rooms that you can enter, and there is the Iron Dome that protect you, and you feel like, yeah, it's normal, even though it's not.
And then you left the kibbutz 4 weeks before the 7th of October.
Yeah, so we left on 1st of September, and we went for a vacation in South Africa for three weeks. And we came back especially for the holiday dinner of Sukkot. On October 6th, we landed, and we went straight to my parents' home in Kibbutz Be'eri to celebrate the holiday.
And how was it in the morning of October 7th?
On October 7 in the morning, in my parents' home, there were my parents, my sister Carmel, and me, Yarden, my wife, and Geffen, our 3.5 years old daughter. And at 6 o'clock, me and Carmel, my sister, we woke up and organized for going for a run. We want to do some jogging, and then the alarm started, and we heard the missiles. More than usual, there was lots of missiles flying in the air from Gaza into Israel. And we rushed into the safe room, which is downstairs. And all of us, that's my parents, my sister Carmel, and me, Yarden, and Geffen, we were sitting in the safe room.
You probably thought that this is just another rocket attack, like...
Exactly, and then you wait for 10, 15 minutes and you go out, but it's continued. And then we got orders to stay in the safe room. And
from whom did you get the orders?
We have like a situation room in the kibbutz that we are getting messages into our phones, and they told us you should stay in the safe room. We are taking care of all of that. And after an hour or so, we already got messages that there is some terrorists from Gaza in the kibbutz. And we didn't understand the magnitude of the events, because you hear more and more messages of people that saying there is terrorists in this house and there is terrorists in that house, and we are locked and we need help. And it's like it's got to the situation quite slowly, and it's escalated slowly, so you not really capture the magnitude of the event in that time. So we stayed in the safe room and we waited it to end, and we didn't understand that there is 200 terrorists in the kibbutz.
200?
Yeah.
Are in the kibbutz, have there been any security people? Like armed people?
Yes, so there is, as I said, it's called the first response team. This is people that they have weapon in their home, and they're supposed to jump and go if there is a call for, if there is a need to take care of a situation like this. But they were 11 people, and there were 200 terrorists, armed terrorists in the kibbutz. So as you can understand, they couldn't take care of the situation. They just couldn't, and the army didn't came in that time.
At 6:57 a.m., a security camera records the first terrorists at the main entrance to Be'eri, waiting for a vehicle to open the gate. They shoot the inmates and enter the kibbutz.
And we are hearing some explosions outside, and we're hearing shooting, and we just stayed in the safe room. And then at 10:25 a.m., after 4 hours that we are in the safe room, the terrorists broke into our home. And they broke into our home from the back door. It's a glass door, so they just broke it and entered. And first they took my mother. They took her outside. We heard it. My mother and my sister were outside bringing some food and water, and that's the time when they entered, and my father was in the bathroom. So in the safe room was only me, Yarden, and Geffen. And they took my mother and my sister. They took them outside, and from that time, at the beginning, they shouted at them, they asked them questions in Arabic, and they were talking to them, and they took them outside, and from that moment, we didn't hear more from them. And we later on, we learned from Hamas Telegram videos that they posted. We saw that afternoon, we saw that my mother was led with her hands tied behind her back. She was led with 4 other people from the kibbutz to a street corner. And over there, the terrorists decided to kill them. So my mother was brutally murdered in the kibbutz 50 meters from her home. And they took my sister as well, and we didn't have any information about her for a long time. And then they came again, and they went to my father's bathroom, and the door was locked, and for some reason it's a wooden door. They didn't break it, and they just shot inside. They hit in his right side, his left side, but they didn't hit him. The bullets didn't hit him, and he was rescued later on at night, luckily.
Alon's mother, Carmel Gat, is dead. His father, Alon Gat, survives, hiding in the bathroom, despite the many shots. From the bathroom window, he sees his daughter, Carmel, being kidnapped by the terrorists. But for Alon, his wife Yarden, and little Geffen, the real drama is just beginning.
So the terrorists came back again to the house, and they walking around in the house, and I could hear them. And at the beginning, I tried to hide Geffen in the closet and to close the door, and she started crying, and we didn't want them to hear us. So I took her outside and I tried to put Geffen and Yarden underneath the bed in the box over there. It was too small. At the end, we didn't find a place to hide them, so they just were sitting in the corner, Yarden holding Geffen in her laps and covering them. I covered them in a blanket, and they stayed there, and I was taking the bulb out of the lamp so it will be dark, and I just stood in front of the door, and I didn't know what I'm going to do. So I just stood in front of the door, and I said I prefer that they will take me and leave Geffen and Yarden. And then they opened the door of the safe room, and I just pushed myself out with them, and I said I'm the only one here. And they took me to the living room and outside, and they tied my hands and tied my legs with a strap that they found over there, and they shoved me into the back seat of a private car that they stole. And I'm sitting there, and I'm seeing around lots of terrorists shooting, exploding things, and burning houses, and I'm seeing only terrorists. I'm not seeing any civilians. I thought, like, it can be true, it can be real. There is no way that there is so many terrorists here, how they came here. and how they are the one controlling the kibbutz. I don't know if you can understand it, if you can grasp the situation that your home is not your home anymore. You are not in your home, you are in these terrorists, they are the one controlling now your home. This is something that I can't explain, the feeling that I felt back then. And after 10 minutes that I'm sitting in the car and thinking, okay, they're taking only me, that's fine. If they leave Yarden and Geffen, I see that they bring in Yarden and Geffen in. And we try to convince them not to put them in the car, and that Geffen she's 3.5 years old, they have nothing to do with her. And they didn't listen, and they shoved Yarden and Geffen into the car as well, and they were sitting in my left side. I sit at the center of the back seat. And they drove with us to the area where the fence of the kibbutz is, and we passed next to the place where my mother was murdered. Fortunately enough, I didn't recognize her. I just saw some people lying there, and I didn't recognize these bodies. Yarden saw these bodies, but also didn't recognize my mother. Then they went to the place where they broke into the kibbutz. The fence was down, and there was a sidewalk that they needed to pass through, and they got stuck in that. So we were in between the kibbutz fence, and they were trying to push the car over, and we are 5 minutes sitting in the car. They are kidnapping us, aiming their guns at us, and they are pushing the car, trying to pass it over this bump. And in that time, you see lots of civilians from Gaza as well, with terrorists, like armed people, going in and out of the kibbutz. It was like a highway. And we are sitting in the car, and I'm seeing like a kid, 12 years old kid, trying to push a golf cart out and to steal it. And
the Palestinian kids?
Yeah, from Gaza.
So they were looting?
Yes, and they were happy. And he's trying to steal the car, and he's pushing it, and he's looking at us in the car, and I'm seeing, and I have his eye contact, and he's looking at us. He's seeing Geffen, 4 years old kid, being kidnapped. He's seeing us. I'm with my hands tied, and I'm sure he saw the bodies before, and maybe he burned a house before. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I didn't see any empathy in his eyes. He didn't care. He really didn't care about us, about people. He just wanted to loot and to take his things and to go. And he really didn't care. And the people around were happy, and for them it was a happy moment. Just for to understand, to kill, to rape, to burn houses, and to kidnap people. And then after 5 minutes, they succeeded to push the car over, and they drove with us to the direction of Gaza. And about 500 meters before the border with Gaza, really close to the border, we seized an opportunity and we jumped out of the car.
Why did you have the chance to jump out?
So there was a tank, an Israeli tank that passed nearby, but to the direction that they couldn't see us. But the terrorists saw the tank and they stopped the car. The 3 armed terrorists that were with us, they left the car and went to the bushes to hide. And the driver made the U-turn. So the second he started to accelerate, we jumped out of the car. We said, we're jumping, and he then jumped with Geffen to the left side of the car. And I jumped to the right side. And on the way, I succeeded to take my leg out of the tying. And when I jumped, I succeeded to release my hands as well from the tying. And we got up and we started running the opposite direction to flee out of this area. And then the terrorists started to shoot at us. They wanted to murder us because we ran away. And they are shooting. And then Yarden understood that I can run faster with Geffen. So she told me, take Geffen. And she passed Geffen to me. And I ran faster with her in front of Yarden. And I looked for a place for all of us to hide. And after about 20 seconds or so, I'm looking back and I'm seeing Yarden a bit behind me, hiding behind a tree, just hiding and putting her hands And I felt like the bullets hitting really close to me and on the trees next to me. And I said, I have to be on a move to save us. And I ran for another 200 meters or so, and I found like a small ditch in the ground, like that deep. And I put Geffen in, and I laid on her, and I put some dirt and thorns on me and camouflaged myself. We stayed there and told Geffen, we have to be quiet. We have to be silent because the bad people are looking for us.
How was she reacting?
Once in half an hour, she was crying a bit and telling me that she wanted to go out, and I told her we have to be quiet, and she listened. She understood somehow the situation. And we are there, and I'm thinking about, I'm hearing the terrorists around and looking for us for a while, and then I hear a car passing just next to us, 2 meters away, passing back and forth, looking for us. And I'm thinking, should I go out and look for Yarden? I don't know if she's hurt, if she's wounded, if she was recaptured, so I didn't know. And I'm thinking about, I know what's going on with her, I don't know what's going on with my parents, I don't know what's going on with my sister, Carmel. And I'm lying there with Geffen for 8.5 hours, and somewhere in the middle I understood that my mission now is to save Geffen.
For 8.5 hours?
Yes. After it was dark, I got up and I took Geffen on my back and I walked with her back to the kibbutz, where I got there the next morning.
But were there terrorists still in the kibbutz?
Yeah, in that time I got back to the entrance of the kibbutz where I met soldiers, Israeli soldiers, and in the kibbutz there was still fighting going on. I didn't know. And then we were heading to Tel Aviv, so I brought Geffen to a safe place. And then we didn't know what's going on with Yarden as well. I just pointed the army the place where we were splitting. Well, I told Geffen that I'm gonna look for Mommy, because Mommy got lost and we need to look for her. So I just went back and looked for her. We didn't find any signs of violence, any blood, anything. So we understood that maybe she was recaptured, and she did. She was recaptured by the terrorists, and they kidnapped her to Gaza.
When did you hear about that?
We were sure that this is what happened about 2 or 3 weeks later only. So we looked for her for a long time, for many days in the area, and we didn't find anything. And then we understood, we had intelligence that told us that she's in captivity. And she was in captivity. She was in Hamas hands, in the terrorist hands in Gaza for 54 days until she was released in the first humanitarian deal, the only humanitarian deal.
Among the 97 hostages released by Hamas over a 7-day period was Alon's wife, Yarden Roman Gat. She was released on November 29, 2023. After the release of the hostages was delayed by Hamas that evening, Yarden arrived back on Israel's soil around midnight.
She was released from Hamas' hands. This was the happiest moment in that area, in that time. It was amazing. We got Yarden back. I got my wife, Geffen got her mother back. And it was amazing.
When did you see her for the first time and where?
In the hospital. She came to the hospital in Tel Aviv, and it was really happy moment.
Alon, how was it for you losing your mother, losing your wife, and you didn't know about 2 weeks or so, or 1 week, what's happening, what's happened with your wife. You know your mother is dead.
I didn't have time to think about that back then. And I will tell you the truth, still am now. I don't have the time to think about that don't have the capacity to grieve on my mother, because I'm still on the efforts and still in the events of releasing my sister, Carmel. Yeah. And when Yarden was released, so Carmel was supposed to be released the day after. This was on day 54. And on that deal, there were hostages that were with Carmel, that were kidnapped with Carmel. From them, we understood what's going on with Carmel. And they told us that they were kidnapped to the same car with Carmel, and they were with 8 terrorists in the car, in the van. And they were driven next to the body of my mother. And we know that Carmel saw my mother and she recognized my mother. And this is the only thing she knows, that my mother was murdered. And she don't know about me. She don't know about Yarden and Geffen. She don't know about my father. She have no clue what's going on with us. And then they were brought to a house in Gaza, and they were locked in a room in a house in Gaza, and they were there for 50 days. And we know that the first part, at least the first few weeks, were really tough, and they were going through tough experiences over there by the terrorists.
What kind of experiences?
They were brutal. They were abusing them. Let's leave it like that. But it wasn't easy for them. Even though they were experiencing tough situations over there, Carmel succeeded to somehow to keep her sanity, and they wrote a diary together to track the days. This was amazing to hear that from them, that they call her a tiger because she was so tough with them. The other hostages really admire her. And then after 50 days, they took the other hostages out, so they were freed, and Carmel was left by herself alone without telling them, without a chance to say goodbye or anything. They just shut the door, and from that time, Carmel is there alone, by herself. This was on day 50. Just for you to, now we are half a year after, just for you to understand how much time has passed.
Do you still have hope?
Of course. Of course. I'm sure she will go out, but I want her to be out as soon as possible, because I don't know what her mental state is, what her physical state is, and every day there is a risk. We are hearing about the terrorists killing and murdering hostages in captivity. They executing them every day, and I'm afraid that tomorrow or today I'm gonna get a phone call that my sister is dead.
What do you think what this communities could do, also like Germany or the European Union? Do you think if they would get more pressure on Qatar?
Yes, I think this is the best thing we can do now, is to press against Hamas as much as we can, because Hamas is seeing the Palestinian protest against Israel, and he sees that the Western wall is not speaking out against Hamas. So this is something that makes Hamas stronger. And we need to make sure we are pressing Hamas to get to a deal. And this is mostly through Qatar. So first, in the public opinion, we need to make sure that people understand that 7th of October, it's not in the past, it's still happening. My sister is still in captivity, suffering, and still every day there is missiles being shot at Israel. And we have missiles from the north as well, and Israel is still under attack. And now Hamas need to understand that he need to get to a deal that, by the way, we are going to release, Israel is going to release murderers that killed Israelis, that are convicted in murdering Israelis. We are going to release them and getting our loved ones. Just for you to understand this transaction, it's crazy, and we are still willing to do that. because we understand that life is more important and we need to get those people back.
How is it for you when you hear from Germany, from United States, that they call for a ceasefire and still the Hamas is firing rockets, as you say?
Yeah, so this is something that we need to make sure that every time that they are saying ceasefire, they need to understand the first step of the ceasefire is to release the hostages. We want this war to end. We want this war to end, but we can't finish this war when our hostages, my sister, is still in captivity.
Have you been ever back to Be'eri?
Only once. Only once. I was there only once.
What did you think when you see the destruction there?
Some of it I didn't really recognize my kibbutz. It wasn't my home anymore. It's, you see a battlefield. And you can see my parents' home, for example. See, it's almost demolished. It's destroyed. This is not something that I can really capture.
We have visited Be'eri for Asa. Yesterday we have been in Nir Oz, and we found out that there are many, many peace activists. They actually wanted to have peace with the Palestinians, but they have been more than disappointed after the 7th of October.
Many people in the kibbutz, in Kibbutz Be'eri, were helping the Gazians, taking them from the border of Gaza to hospitals in Israel. I personally donated money every year to families that used to work in Be'eri, families from Gaza. And we still kept donating money for them every year so they will have better life. And then we think that many civilians over there attacked us and raped us and burn us and murder us. They planned that for a long time, and they had a strategic way to do it, and they knew that the kindergarten, which are a kind of bomb shelters, they knew this is good for their headquarters, and they had all planned. Yeah. They planned to murder, they planned to kidnap, they planned to rape. It's something that people are not really understanding, that the horrific events that happened in October 7th and now still happening, Hamas is not, they are not peace activists. They are planning for a world jihad. And Yarden, when she was in captivity, she was talking to them in Arabic some of the time with the terrorists, and they told her that Israel was only the beginning and the rest of the world is next. This is their words. And when they understood that she's a German citizen, they told her, don't worry, we have in Germany a lot of Hamas people. So wait, we'll get there as well.
Alon Gat does everything he can to see his sister Carmel released from the hands of Hamas. Since his wife Yarden Roman Gat has German citizenship, Alon travels frequently to Germany. He wants to raise awareness in politics and society about the ongoing hostage drama, and hopes that Germany will use its political means to put pressure on Hamas to release the hostages.
So this is an initiative that we did it for people to understand that time is running out. The hostages don't have more time. They are dying every day, and we are hearing they are executed as well every day there. And they can die not only physically, but mentally as well. And we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to take them out.
And you are involved in this project?
Yes, this is Yarden's family, the one that initiated that. Yeah, we established about 4 of them. One is here, other one is in Berlin right now, is in front of the Bundestag, and it's going to be, most likely next week, it's going to be inside the Bundestag to remind everyone that the time is running out.
So if you have been in the Bundestag establishing this, Did you meet politicians? Or
Yes, this time I met only a few, but the other times I was there, yeah, I met many of them. And we feel that Germany is doing a lot and is putting pressure, but we need more pressure, and we need the public in Germany to encourage the government to put more pressure on releasing the hostages, because so far they are not here. That means we didn't do enough.
what do you think about the German media, who is reporting now since weeks and focusing on the people in Gaza, the so-called civilians, that they are starving, and blaming actually Israel for the humanitarian crisis there?
I saw that also in Munich and Berlin. I see protests of people protesting against Israel and for the Palestinian people, and telling that Israel is the one responsible for starvation and the killing of tens of thousands of people in Gaza. They need to understand this is not Israel that's responsible for that. Israel is doing everything they can to release the hostages and everything they can to delete Hamas, who's the terrorist organization who murdered, raped, loot, burn houses with people inside, and now still holding our hostages and abusing them. And they are the one the Hamas is using the civilians as a human shield. They are putting civilians in front of them and not letting the Israeli army to be active in Gaza. And Israel is doing everything they can to not hitting and not harming any civilians. And we are putting lots of trucks with food and water and humanitarian aid into Gaza every day. And Hamas is taking a lot of it to himself. And this is the problem, that people are not understanding that the one responsible for everything that happened, the one that initiated that, the one that still is the one with the weapons up in Gaza, is the Hamas. And Hamas is now pointing the gun not only to my sister, which is in captivity, but also to the civilians in Gaza, the Gazians that are now suffering.
I heard that among the hostages are still 12 people, 12 German people. What do you think why Israel is focusing, all Israel is focusing so strong on the hostages, and actually in Germany you don't hear anything? Is it a special attitude of the Jewish people, or?
I think I hear the support in Germany, but I also hear the other side. And it's a shame that there is not enough support for that, because we understand that Israel was only the beginning for this world jihad, and that next it will be happen in Germany as well. So if we want shout out against it now, and if the German people won't say anything about that and against that now, the next horrific events could happen in Germany, and we don't want that to happen. So the Hamas and the world jihad people are now looking around and seeing the reaction of the world. And they are seeing that there is not enough provoke against that. People are not saying that this is wrong. They're not saying that enough. And we need to say that. We need to go out to the streets. In Germany, you need to go out to your politicians. You need to go out to the people, your friends, and shout out that this is wrong, that there is innocent people in captivity. Captivity, it's not the word to describe that. They are getting abusing. They are getting abuses every day, and they are getting raped, and they are being tortured in captivity now, in this moment, while we are standing here, while you are watching this TV. And we can't accept that. It needs to be changed right now. And we need all of the modern world, the free world, to speak against that.
So this is the youngest hostage,
Yeah.
right? It's 1 year old. Kfir Bibas.
And as you can see, a baby. It is now turned 1 year old. And this is the enemy of the Hamas, the babies. And they believe they are the enemy. The babies, the women they are holding and abusing. This is the enemy of Hamas.
Alon, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it that you,
Thank you.
told your story. And I assure you that we pray for you and we're standing with you, but we wish you all the best and strength and power and the blessing of Hashem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's bring them back.
Yes.
Dear viewers, I think we can hardly imagine what Alon's family is going through right now. It is all the more admirable that Alon has the strength and courage to tell his story publicly. At this moment, Alon's sister Carmel Gat and many other people are still held hostage by Palestinian terrorists. And I think this film has shown the need. Indeed, I believe it is a call for all of us to pray for the release of the hostages. Today from Tel Aviv, I would like to make this call to all churches and Christian communities to pray for the release of the hostages and for Israel. Thank you for watching even this rather difficult story. But despite everything, I leave you from Tel Aviv with the wish of peace from heaven.